goes on in the planet, which is the lack of light. So we have two streams going in this world. Building light, tearing down light. So watch yourself, even when you say this world is crazy, you're tearing down, you're part of the tearing down process, and guess what will happen? You will manifest a torn down world. Okay? So that's what we're about, is just building that consciousness. Yes?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I will get back to you, I'm sorry.
I look at it in a more complex fashion where you recognize the good and the bad in this world, and you fight for the good of the world, and you fight against the bad. You try to either change the bad into good or to get rid of the bad. But you don't, it's not just one or the other, it's you actually understand there's a dichotomy going on.
Yes, I get that as well. The only word I'd love to help shift with you is the fight. Okay, because that is not a quality of spirit. If you are an inspiration of light, then you will magnetize. When people come out of fear and resistance and fighting for whatever their cause is, they have a choice to look to light, and there it is standing there. If you are fighting to hold the light, that it pulls it down. Light doesn't fight, it holds inspiration for people to choose when they are ready to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it may be just a bit of semantics, but that fight thing will actually cause tension and resistance, as though you've got something better than another person.
But maybe just like if someone attacks you on the street, you have to defend yourself. You're going to have to fight them off at some point. It's
not necessarily.
Sit there and take it and get pounded.
No, see, there's a middle ground. Have you ever heard Katie Byron?
Byron Katie.
Byron Katie. Well, some people call her Katie. So anyway, she talks very vividly of times where she was actually so-called attacked. Someone approached her, and she held her ground. When you're in the power of love, you hold your ground, and you will not be attacked. Okay? If you look that opponent in the eye, they will not attack you. They only go for a weakness. It's perpetrator-victim. If you've got a weakness in you, you will close in, and they will love that. That's food for them. But if you stand your ground, they've even said that as it relates to, not being raped. If you're in an alley, you look at that person in the eye, it disarms them so much, they will not attack you. So there is the middle ground. You don't have to do attack, defend. And I'm going to ask this woman about her question. That one means what?
Half hour.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I was enjoying your, I think you had a few, and maybe they're in your books or your outlines, but you did mention one of the main archetypes for the soul mastery being, the Joan of Arc syndrome, like these unconscious. So I just wanted to put you back on that track and see if you could give us the full, treatise of what you see as the main, ones, or something about that, or something like that.
Gotcha. In my third book that's coming out in a couple of weeks, I do talk about all of those major soul challenges that we run into. And one of them is that feeling that if we start to bring our gifts forward, then they A, won't be received, B, will be crucified, Joan of Arc for them. And that sits in our soul memory, okay? But we have to remember that we created that scenario. That something outside ourselves has a power greater than us. And it's the same thing as what you were talking about. If you're afraid that something is going to crucify you, then it has a power over you, and then you have a weakness in respect to it, and it will. Many of us, even though we say we're very spiritual, have a feeling that this world is more powerful than our spirituality. And that holds it in a power. It's a false power, but it holds the power, whether we talk about politics or any of that. The systems of this world, there's nothing we can do as spiritual beings because we've got these systems locked in, and you're locked in. Okay? Absolutely. So that's one way of describing that. Does that make sense?
Very good.
Very good. Yeah.
I have an issue here. What about the concept of psychic vampires, so to speak? Would you envision yourself as being surrounded by a wall of
Oh, I'm so glad
light
you
or
brought
something
that
like
up.
that?
Great, okay. Did you hear that? He's talking about psychic vampires. This is such a great, round of questions. They all go one after the other in perfect order. Okay. Psychic vampires, as I was mentioning earlier, only can take the blood of a weakness. Okay? They cannot suck divine love.
Right.
I take people on guided inner journeys to their home worlds, to the larger dimensions, to their spiritual resources, to their soul essence, all of that. And I've been doing that for 15 years. And what I've discovered is when you are holding your gift, whether it's love or truth or power, inside, that being that used to be a psychic vampire to you runs because you're too hot to handle, basically. Okay? Psychic vampires only go after your weakness. That was fast. Okay. Time speeded up, didn't it?
Time for a half a question.
Okay. So, do you see what I mean? It's really important. Do I hold a wall of light around me? Let's go pull it back a bit. Do I put protection around myself? No. If I have to protect myself, I'm protecting myself from something I think has power over me, right? So it will. No more protection. No more. That's a weakness, okay? So what do? I hold within me connection to that expanded field. Again, I'm being a little vague about it because for everybody it's a different qualities of spirit, okay? Expanded field, hold that inside of me, okay? It radiates from me because that's naturally what it does. It doesn't just hold itself like this. It radiates from me and it will burn anything, so to speak. It doesn't physically burn it, but those psychic vampires won't come near me. I work with people and possessions and all that heavy duty stuff all the time. Do I look like I'm psychically attacked? No. Okay. No, because I'm not worried about it. I'm bigger than they are. I look bigger, don't I? Okay, you're next.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Kind of a complex situation. Well, first off, I'm a family provider, and I'm diagnosed with PTSD.
I'm sorry, can we hear, we can't hear you.
I'll give you the
Repeat the
synopsis in a
question.
moment. Uh-huh. Thank you.
Yeah, so I've suffered a lot of emotional trauma because of that. Also, and my best friend died in my
Ouch.
So I still kind of keep those images in my brain.
Yes.
And the VA has diagnosed me with PTSD.
Okay.
But on the other hand, I've also had very heavy spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
I've seen experience in life. And temporary samadhi, satori, several, quite a few times, deja vu. People said I'm extremely psychic. And which is another problem because I would tend to pick up other people's emotions and feelings.
Okay.
And it does affect me, so I don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. So.
And what do you need?
I want to, I really want to get a higher level of consciousness and awareness
Yeah.
and achieve some kind of more of a focus and enlightenment.
Right.
Because I've already been there, but I've lost it.
Yeah.
I just can't seem to hold on.
Okay, great. That's exactly the kind of thing that I work with individually. That's why I do the reading, come to the expo and do these, I call them readings, but they're sessions to work with whatever it is you're working with at this level, at a soul level. So that what you're working with is, like we were talking about before, you have this expanded part of you that you can touch into, but there's a ceiling that won't allow it to be here. So you're in a painful physical outer expression because it's felt separated from all of that. It doesn't have that to feed it. So it feels bereft and isolated here, as though you have nothing in this human world that can actually feed you in any way. You know what I mean? And that is PTSD from day one. So you had PTSD for a long time. It just got embodied in Vietnam, okay? So we want to be able to give you the food that you have, that you get glimpses of, to learn how to do that. Does that make sense? Yeah. You got it. Okay. I need to stop there because we have just a few minutes, right? Are we done?
Yes,
5?
5 minutes, yes.
Okay.
Hey, you're addressing a group of adults. How do you deal with adolescents? And kind of to the vampire thing, there's a big vampire thing among adolescents. I wonder how you counsel or you guide adolescents to kind of come into their soul or protect their soul from like a mass media and a whole bunch of stuff, since that's a very open time.
Right? Okay, so remember, there's nothing in this world that we need to be protected from, for starters, okay?
Is that a message that adolescents will get?
Absolutely.
Okay.
To get them, they're more connected than we are. These adolescents are coming in more connected. So my job with young people and adolescents, I love working with them, is to help them remember that that connection is valid regardless of what their parents are telling them about this horrible world. Because they know inherently that this world is not as horrible as we tell them it is or it shows on the media. They're actually easier about that than we are, okay? That's why the whole topic of vampires can come out, because they're laughing about it and going, yeah, this stuff isn't real. There really aren't bad vampires. I mean, think of the
Twilight.
series. What's that Twilight series, for instance, okay? Everyone loves Edward. They're not showing him as a bad person at all. They're just showing that, they're showing him as a very archetypal person that we wish we could be. Okay? He's not sucking anyone's blood. I can feel like I don't want to go into that whole thing, but they're changing that whole field is changing the way we look at something called vampires. Okay? And these kids know that it's just opening up the field of this extraterrestrial as being very real, not so weird after all. Okay, so we just have a moment more. I'm at booth 112 and would love to see any of you that would like to talk to me further on anything that you want to connect with today and tomorrow. I call it 20-minute readings, but it feels like for this group, it's just whatever you want to play with in 20 minutes.